Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Lamecca Holmes, Director of the East Flatbush Community Partnership. And you are joining us for our monthly meeting for the month of January 2023. And I can still say Happy New Year. So if you have not already, feel free, put your name in the chat, and I'm going to share today's agenda. Okay, we're going to have some East Flatbush Community Partnership updates. We're going to have our What's Happening segment. We have a presentation by Zoe Fortin from Playground New York City. I have a video that I'd like for us to watch and have a conversation about. The name of the video is A Call to Connection. We're going to have program updates and then share next steps. Okay. So for our East Flatbush Community Partnership updates, I know that we have some people joining us for the first time. So I just wanted to share with you that we have a weekly newsletter that goes out every Wednesday. And then at the beginning of every month, it goes out on a Friday. And so the newsletters are always packed with a lot of information about program events, about things going on in the partnership. I'm actually going to share my screen so that you can see what one of those looks like really quickly as a visual for those of you who, are joining us for the first time. So here is our newsletter, just an example of what it looks like. Lots of information. We have it broken up into different sections. We have education, health, employment and business opportunities, civic engagement. Okay, so again, if you would like to have your information shared to our network, you would definitely want to send Cindy Reed your flyers or all the information needed to her email address so that she can post those in a timely manner. And also we have a form that people fill out so that they can request to be a presenter for our monthly meetings. So Kai has placed those two links in the chat, one to join our weekly newsletter, and then the other one is to be a presenter. Typically, we have 1 or 2 presenters each month for our monthly meetings. So thank you in advance for all of you who are going to sign up to present for our monthly meetings. Okay, we are still currently looking to fill our administrative assistant position. We did have some interviews this week, but no final decisions have been made. And I'm going to share some past events that we've just had recently. For our last open door session, which is typically held the second Thursday of each month at 7 o'clock. We had a great presentation regarding the childcare vouchers that are now available, and information about that has definitely been placed in our newsletter on a consistent basis. But it was a great meeting because residents were able to take time and really ask questions about how to apply for those childcare vouchers. The next event we had was an education forum. We actually partnered up with the Jamaica Community Partnership for these 2 sessions. We held them on January 19th, one at 11 and one at 6. The first one, actually both of them were about attendance and bullying, and both sessions went really well. And we just recently had our event this past Saturday held at PS 268. And this event was really catering to families who have recently migrated here, and it was a huge success. Over 97 people came out. They were able to receive donations of coats, food. They received information around medical insurance, immigration services, and it was just a really, really great event. And thank you for everyone who came to table at that event. Okay, so now Kai is going to share about our upcoming events. Kai, take it away.
Hi, my name is Kai Priya. I work for East Flatbush Community Partnership. I'm the community ambassador, and I'll be telling you guys the upcoming events. Well, first we have our Heard at Home. It's Saturday, January 28th at 10:30 a.m. at the Brooklyn Public Library, 1000 Utica Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11203. Okay, I'll also be telling you guys updates on what's happening. Well, first I'd like to talk about the new store on Flatbush. Flatbush Stop and Shop, located at 1009 Flatbush Avenue, has made the difficult decision not to renew the lease at its Flatbush store. On January 20th, it was officially changed to Food Bazaar. The NYC worst landlord list has been revealed, and out of the 100 names on the list, the majority came from Brooklyn. The top 5 worst landlords were also in Brooklyn and had 9,300 housing violations total between them. Public advocate Jumaine D. Williams tries to make a change with the new accountability law. The purpose of this bill is to make sure that the violations landlords receive are not persistently ignored. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kai. You can introduce our speaker.
I would also like to introduce Miss Zoe Fortin. Oh, hold on. I would also like to make sure everybody, well, the residents, to put their name and emails inside the chat. Thank you.
Okay, Zoe.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. I'll just show you a few things. Okay, can everyone see this?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me. My name is Zoe Fortin, and I'm the executive director of a nonprofit called groundNYC. And what we do is maybe the most fun job in the city, because we focus on children's play and supporting children's play in the city, which can seem a little counterintuitive, because a lot of people, when I say that, tell me, well, why do we need a nonprofit for that? Don't kids just play? But play, as I'm sure many of you know, because you work with children, is really central to a childhood and can support so many different things like mental health and physical health. There's now tremendous research about the way it can also support learning in school. But unfortunately, because of how many cars we have in the streets and emphasis on test scores and schoolwork and a lot of different things, a lot of kids actually don't get enough play to support their full development in their life. So that's what we do. So I'll just show you a few programs we have going on, and if it prompts any ways we can support your work or collaborations, please pop in the chat. But I usually like to start by asking people, adults like us, how they played as a child and their favorite memory of playing as a child. And if you want to share in the chat, I love seeing those stories. But what comes up a lot, usually when you try to bring your childhood back, is that you were playing outside with peers, and you were kind of doing something that you thought maybe was like naughty, or like the adults didn't quite know what you were up to. For me, it was like riding my bike in a back alley. My mom told me what I was up to, but I felt like I was doing something completely independent. So that's kind of the kind of play we try to encourage in New York, which is harder and harder to come by. This is our main location on Governor's Island, which I know is not the easiest access, especially from East Flatbush, but we run a big adventure playground where kids have access to a ton of different materials, like you can see here. And God knows what they're doing over here, like mixing some paints, but they were having a blast. And having that sense of independence and creativity is super important to our youth. And outside of Governor's Island, we take these programs all over the city, and this is what it usually looks like when we're not on Governor's Island. We can bring all our materials, so we usually bring a lot of recycled materials, like you'll see, like in open streets or parks. The picture in the middle is actually an event we did with the East Flatbush Community Partnership in December, where this little girl built this robot for an hour and then moved on. And it was a ton of fun and just a lot of beautiful collaboration. And creation. Sometimes when the space is smaller, the like type of play we see is much smaller. Like this was completely unprompted, which has brought a ton of different stuff. And this kid built this, or left a snowman for hours, which was beautiful. So in terms of how we think about our programs, we try to think about how and where can children play in New York City. And the reality is that most children's play is restricted to playgrounds that look like this in the city, which if you've been around kids lately, it's fine for a while. It's fine for the little ones who climb and go down the slide and go on the swing. But once you start hitting the like 6, 7, 8-year-olds, like they don't really know what to do in there. They start running and like jumping, and this type of like playground doesn't really serve the way they want to play anymore. So that's why we've developed the yard, which is our main program. It looks like a junkyard. It is pretty triggering when you first see it, I will admit. But kids have access to just a ton of stuff to build and create. In this particular picture, this kid and a bunch of other kids had spent all day outside with this tube, building this slide that actually they couldn't fit into, it turned out, but like the process of building it was what they enjoyed. The pop-ups, which I've mentioned a little bit, they're usually in open streets, and we're always open to collaboration. If you feel like your neighborhood playground could use an activation, or you have an open street or a public space in mind, we're always looking for collaborations. These are all the neighborhoods we played in 2022. As you can see, there's a lot of gaps, so we're willing to go to a lot more neighborhoods. We also bring our play programs to schools, so if there's any educators or school administrators on this call, I'd love to talk to you about how we can support. A lot of schools we talked to after the pandemic shared with us that they had realized that their recess yard wasn't quite doing it for them anymore. They had tried to move all of their programs outdoors and take advantage of their recess yards, but suddenly they discovered that like it was like an empty blacktop recess yard, and for the kids who play basketball are fine, and then there's a bunch of other kids who are like, what am I supposed to do out here? So we've helped a bunch of schools now around the city bring a lot of those parts and different kinds of play to their recess yards. This was in a school in Brooklyn where you'll see the kids build amazing stuff on their own. In the back, you'll see costumes we had brought out. And, I'm not gonna lie, teachers at first were like, oh my God, they come back to the classroom so dirty. And they do. But they've collaborated, they've formed friendships, they've let it out, they're ready to focus. We've seen like tremendous feedback on like bickering going down because they have something fun to do together, and it's been really successful. And then the sort of last program we do in terms of supporting play around the city. Oh, this was another school. This was in Bed-Stuy this past weekend, actually. It was a bit too cold to be outside, so we moved it to the gym, but same concept. The last thing we do is professional development. We welcome a ton of caregivers, educators, anyone with access to children really who's interested in how play can support what they're doing. This was 50-ish educators from the DOE who joined us last year. There were 3K and pre-K coaches and teachers who wanted to come talk about play, which was great. So the reason I mentioned all of this, which I've kind of mentioned already, but it's really play is not frivolous. I know it can take the backseat on so many other priorities that we have for our youth, but really it fosters collaboration, risk-taking, experimentation. This little girl I remember pretty well was kind of terrified of doing this all day, and then she did it, and I think she fell, but she was okay. They, sometimes find passions for topics that have been completely inaccessible to them. This was a collaboration with PS32, in the Bronx, where these kids admitted to us after this pop-up in their street that they hated science, which somehow they had played making science stuff without knowing for 2 hours outside, but please don't tell them that was science, because it was play, which was a lot of fun. We also see a lot of educators and caregivers come to us to talk about how they can use play to address other topics. And this was a very interesting example where at the yard on Governor's Island, we had this group of 4 kids play out a COVID scenario for hours. They came and played for hours, and they were doctors and EMTs and putting a patient on this, whatever that is, they're doing, and talking about COVID and death. And really, it let educators and caregivers who were supporting them observe and foster conversations that weren't happening in the classroom or other settings by letting kids play out the scenarios and then observe their play. This is another example of what's going on at the yard. I get a lot of questions about this picture. What about injuries? We don't get more injuries than in other settings. Kids end up being quite reasonable when we trust them with this kind of tools, and we have a team obviously inside who's there to support. And then my favorite part, I'm a mother of a toddler, is parents get a break. Kids are engrossed in play for 2 hours and parents get to chill for a little bit, which is a well-deserved break for a lot of parents and caregivers who are completely stretched in the city. So this is an overview of our programs. I'm completely happy to share more. I have put my email in the chat if you want to know more about how we can support what you all might be up to. But I also wanted to mention that a few things. First off, we're distributing a small grant right now with the Logo Foundation. It's only $500, but it's very easy to apply to for anyone who wants to foster more play in their community, whether it's in your school or in your park or anything you have in mind. I'll put the link in the chat, but it's really easy to get those $500. So I would encourage everyone to do so. We also have a summer camp this summer with a full scholarship for families who are SNAP recipients. It is on Governor's Island, which again, I know is not easy to access for a lot of families, especially those in East Flatbush, but pickup and drop off is in Lower Manhattan. And if you know families who could benefit from a full scholarship to summer camp, please share that link. And then last but not least, we are looking to collaborate on a few play streets this summer, or this spring, actually. So a lot of us have these memories maybe of these play streets. The one on the left is from East New York, 2 decades ago, and the one on the right is one we programmed this summer in Sunset Park. And DOT applications for open streets and play streets and school streets are open right now, and discretionary budget applications from the city are also open. So there's a lot of stars aligning for us to partner and bring this programming to your community. So if you have a space in mind that could use that kind of programming, we are all ears, and I'll put my email again in the chat. Yeah, and I'm happy to take questions. Sorry, I know that was a lot of information, but thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak about this.
You're welcome. Does anyone have questions for Zoe?
There's some raised hands, but I don't want to moderate. Oh my God, do you want to moderate?
Oh, I see. Oh, I don't know why I was looking in the chat for the questions and not the hands raised. I'm sorry. And then feel free and unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm sorry for the noise, but I'm in the street. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
No, you sound fine.
I'm fine.
Okay, great, awesome. Well, my question is, I don't belong to any organization, but however, there's this huge space in my building, and I want to know if it's possible, or how do you go about, or even start the process of actually getting funded for having like a small playground, a safe play area. I live in East Flatbush, and in a 10-block radius, it's like 2 playgrounds, and one of them is not quite safe, and it's a bit far. But however, in my building, there's this huge area, and the landlord always said, well, you know, the money, or the budget, and all these excuses. But the building, I live in a double building, so just imagine how much kids here. So I wanted a little more information on how to go about that. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of answers for fixed equipment because most of what we do, I don't know if you had a chance to see on your device in the street, but most of what we do is with loose parts that get moved around. If your landlord or you would be open to an option like this, where it's more based on like having bowls and scooters and other loose parts that the kids can create with, I would definitely encourage you to apply to this Lego grant I mentioned. I know $500 is not a lot, but I feel like with these projects, if you get the first like seed funding and enough support from other parents in your building, then you can rally like other support. If it's for built fixed equipment, I'm not sure, I'm sorry.
You're fine. Well, I missed the start, but thanks. Thanks for the info.
Yeah, I'll put the link for the Lego grant.
Tyrone, feel free to unmute.
Yes, how you doing? Good afternoon. Thank you. Question, do you have, as far as standard time slots as far as the pop-ups and yards go? Or is that like basically, up to the person requesting it? How does that go?
Yeah, that's a good question. The yard, which is our location on Governor's Island, is open for free every weekend from 12 to 4 between April and November. On days like today, when it's quite mild, I'm like, I could have stayed open this winter, but April 1 is when we'll reopen the yard, and yeah, free and open till every weekend. The pop-ups, we usually defer to the partners on what time is best. We've learned that, some neighborhoods, parents are out from 11 to 3 p.m. Some neighborhoods, like when we went to Sunset Park this winter, it was really hot and everyone napped, and parents were back out like much later, like really closer to like 5 to 7 p.m. So we kind of defer to organizers on like what they think the need is in their community and when is best for us to show up.
Okay. Anthony? Did we lose Anthony?
Oh yeah, he disappeared. Oh no, he's here.
Oh. I see his name still there, but not the image. Anthony, are you still with us?
We can't hear you. You don't seem to be on mute. I see your lips moving, but we can't hear you. No, still no.
Anthony, would you like to put your question in the chat? Okay. Okay. So while Anthony is doing that, does anyone else have a question for Zoe?
Need the information in the chat.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you all. I'll put my email if you have any questions or have any ideas for collaborations. We're all ears. And then I'll put the the Lego Foundation link for the small grant and our summer camp scholarship application. What age range do you serve? Oh, the yard is recommended mostly for 6 to 12-year-olds. We find that that's when they have the level of independence to join us. I should say parents and caregivers usually don't enter, so it requires leaving your parents at the door, which usually doesn't quite happen before 6. And in terms of like physical strength and things like that, that's usually the age. We also feel a pretty strong duty to protect play for that age range. There's great work being done in the early years and great understanding of play for the early years. And then 6 to 12 is when we see sort of like things shift and school get away from play. So that's the ages we focus on. That being said, the pop-ups, because parents can be present and the materials are a bit different, they are suited for a wider age range, and we've had younger kids than 6 join us for those.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for Zoe? Okay, I don't see any more hands raised, no more questions in the chat, so I think we're all done. Thank you so much, Zoe, for sharing the information about Playground New York City. We appreciate you. All righty. So I am going to share a video, And at the top of the meeting, I mentioned that the video was about connection. So after I share the video, I really just want to hear everyone's feedback as to what resonated with you. Okay, so here we go.
Has experienced one of the following 10 events prior to the age of being 18. Emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, feeling unloved or unwanted by your family, being afraid your basic needs might not get met, a divorce or separation of your caregivers, witnessing domestic violence in your home, someone with a substance abuse issue or a mental health issue in your home, someone in your home incarcerated, all prior to the age of 18. I've just defined adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, otherwise known as childhood emotional trauma. And it's a health risk that increases social problems in our community, raises our risk for disease, and can even shorten our lifespan. The Center of Disease Control names it as the prime determinant of health. And yet, unlike texting while driving or smoking cigarettes when we're young, for most of us, it's still an unknown epidemic. And yet 70% of the general population has had at least one of those events happen. That's 1,050 people in this room and about 7 people in your row. 1 out of 6 of us has had 4 or more of those events happen. And that's 240 people in this room and probably 1 or 2 people in your row. And yet we're not talking about it. Even though when it goes above a 4, some pretty hard statistics come about. At a 4, we're over 1,500% more likely to attempt suicide, over 550% more likely to become an alcoholic, COPD, liver disease, asthma. At a 6, we're more likely to die 20 years younger than our counterpart, at age 60 instead of age 80. And so we need to embrace what this silent costs us. I want to introduce you to Henry. At 18 months old, Henry moves into your community, and neighbors go to knock on his door. But they hear loud screaming and noise inside, and they look at each other and say, you know, we do crime at watch and checking building maintenance, but I don't know if we're in for this. And so they walk away. At 2.5 years old, he goes to daycare, and they notice mom has a bruise on her eye, and Henry's kind of aggressive in class. And they go, director, should we do something about this? No, she says, we're in charge of good quality childcare, not this. And so things go on. At 5 years old, he's put upstairs in his room and he hears a loud crash downstairs, and he comes downstairs and mommy's bleeding on the kitchen floor and dad's standing above her. 4 big police officers burst down the door. They grab dad and put him in the police car, grab mom, put her in the ambulance, grab Henry and lock him in the car. A woman comes and taps on his window. She has his things in a garbage bag and says, come on, let's go. He drives to a new neighborhood where he knows no one, falls asleep in a bed, not in his pajamas, crying himself to sleep. He wakes up in the morning going to a new school that he doesn't know, and the teacher yells at him because he has a hard time following the rules, and he says, wow, that sounds like dad, and I don't even know where dad is. And next, he moves from school to school, and his foster care parents get angry at him, and they start yelling at him and begins wetting his bed at night until a new social worker comes and says, come on, put your things back in the garbage bag. We got to move again. And he wonders how many places he's going to have to live, where his parents are, and if he'll see them again. His behavioral health file gets this thick, and so does his school file, until one day they tell him his parents aren't his parents anymore, termination of parental rights. And so now he's up for adoption, but nobody really wants him. And so he's in his 10th foster care placement at 11 years old, and foster dad and foster mom are fighting, and he thinks, I'm never going to watch someone put their hands on someone else again. And he steps in and he takes a swing, and the next thing he knows, he's in handcuffs in juvenile detention. Now that's a tough story to hear. And what I want you to think about is 12 systems and 50 plus people crossed Henry and his family's life. And yet no one thought it was their job to connect with them about that hard story. And that doesn't make sense to me because, right, we're caring people. All of us are. And so I wonder, maybe it's because we were taught it's not our role. It's not our place. Or maybe from a more hidden part of ourselves, we think that's Henry. That's his family. We can't change stuff like that. That's them and this is us. What I want you to hear today is this is not an us-them conversation. This is an all of us conversation. And if we choose to keep our story of silence, this epidemic's gonna grow. And that feels uncomfortable, right? And if I'm doing this right, you feel uncomfortable because when we get uncomfortable, we grow, and that's a good thing. And you might be saying, Allison, what do you want me to do about this? I mean, I don't know how to break this silence. I might not have the right letters behind my name. I might not have any letters behind my name. I mean, violence and abuse, that seems like pretty big stuff. And what I would say to you is this: 70% of why anyone changes a negative health behavior is because of the person who connects with them and inspires them to change that. Relationship is the evidence-based practice, connection, and you don't need the right letters or any letters to do that. So I want to tell you about Kat. Kat had 8 of those 10 things happen before she was 19 years old. She went from residential placement about between the ages of 13 and 19, about 8 to 10. And she was the kid that broke windows and tore down doors. Sometimes she was held down in restraints and injected with Thorazine. She tells the story of a nurse who one time said, you know what, Kat, act your age, not your shoe size. I own this place. You got to come through me to get out of here. And that's who Kat would have thought she was until she met Howard, a mental health tech who had no letters behind his name, but he understood connection and he was willing to go past his role. And he said, you know what, Kat, I get we need to connect. And he had to find her motivation. So he took her to the gym and said, you know what, I want you to exercise, and if you give me 1 solid hour of really good exercise, I'll let you go back to the unit and tear everything up. And she said, hell yeah, right? The joke was, though, that when she walked out of that gym, she was crawling and she couldn't lift a chair to throw, okay? And that was Howard's plan, although she didn't know that. And so Howard looked at her and he said, she began telling these chapters of her story. And he said, you know what, Kat, I see something in you. You're going to do something important in your life. Well, Kat had never heard that before, and so she liked that. So she did what Howard didn't plan and got locked up a lot to see him. That wasn't the intention. And so she came there one day, and he said, Kat, you coming here to see me? And she said, yeah. And he said, here's my schedule. Meet me in the lobby, right? We don't need to do that. So she did. That's how she got through high school. The thing is that hard stuff doesn't stop happening at 18. Kat went away to college. She was raped. She went through a serious suicide attempt, and she came back to the adult psychiatric institution, the same place where she was as a kid. Howard found out she was being admitted, and at 2 in the morning, he came to her admission and said, Kat, please don't give up before you know what you can become. I'm gonna hold hope right here till you're strong enough to grab it, right here. That was the last time Kat attempted suicide, the last time she was locked in a residential placement, and the first job she ever had was a psych tech on a unit like Howard's because she promised to pay that connection forward. Now, we're sitting here with 2 stories, and that's the intention. For centuries, stories have taught us how to make meaning. Dr. Brené Brown teaches us that we are hardwired for connection, and that one of our deepest fears is disconnection, that fear of not belonging. And so we're sitting with a story of disconnection and connection. And that gives us a choice. We can think about Henry before he threw that punch, the 12 systems that crossed his path, the 50+ people that chose not to connect. And we can think maybe if somebody had connected earlier, that story could have been different. And we can think about Kat, because Kat might not be who you think, because Kat's story is my story. My nickname throughout school was Alley Cat. And if Howard had not made a decision to connect with a kid like me, I truly believe I would have been in an institution, dead, or probably in jail. And so we're not powerful enough to know who's had trauma and who hasn't. We're not powerful enough to know who makes it and who doesn't. But we're powerful enough to teach someone else about childhood trauma as a health issue. And 2, make that risk of connection. I think about if somebody came up to me and said, you know, Allison, I saw this awesome doctor on Friday talk about childhood trauma. And they told me that I should tell someone about it. And I'm wondering if you would listen. I think I would have listened, and I think it would have made a difference. Mavis Leno once said, if you want to make a difference in the world, the next time you see someone being cruel to another human being, take it personal, because it is. And what I would add to that powerful statement is the next time someone gives you the honor of walking their trauma, their pain story in front of you, answer that call with connection. Because you see, ordinary acts of courage can change this. It's not going to be the monumental events. Thank you so much for listening to my story.
Thank you for engaging with me in that video, everyone. I know it's kind of heavy, but I thought it was appropriate for the work that we're doing and the work that we've been trying to do. One, in the partnership, but I know also in your realms as well. So feel free, unmute, and I really want to hear just whatever resonated with you from the video. And we're just going to have a conversation now. So whoever's ready, unmute and go for it.
Yeah, how you doing? With the video, I'll just point out some things actually were very vivid to me, and actually very hit me hard was when the young man, I believe, was in the squad car, and then the police actually brought his belongings in the garbage in a probably plastic bag. I mean, that was very painful. And I really felt that. You know, I can actually visualize the plastic all crumpled up, and then whatever little things he had, the whole, you know, that saying that, this is just procedure, this is, and something so traumatic. So that was overwhelming. Also, the part which I thought was very touching was when the young lady messed up again and ended up in a place in a psychiatric center, and then for, guess is her mentor, came and actually encouraged her. That was also very touching too. Yeah, those are really what really hit me.
Thank you, Tyrone. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say, it's just so sad to see how the cycle just continues, and a lot of times, some of us are charged with these positions where we should be helping the kids or helping the adults. And what we're really doing is just doing the job and not really doing the job. And when I say it the second time, meaning that a lot of us, sometimes we take on some of these jobs because of the pay, because of the flexibility, because of the benefits, but not because we really and truly care about what we're doing. So when you get some of these, some of these cases, you're just going through the motions. And then sometimes there's some of us who are burnt out because we have taken in so much of other people's trauma that now you feel so numb that, again, you're still going through the just the procedures of how it's done, and not realizing that you are at the point where you need to ask help for yourself also, in order to be a better person for that person that's looking to you for help. Yes, that's my point.
Thank you, Keisha. Thank you. I see Venus has a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what resonated with me was the continual foster care system, and how that child never got the help that he needed. No one really ever saw him. They just saw the case. And it was just touching because we do have potential as people, but even a smile, people don't understand that sometimes smiling at someone can make someone's day. And if a smile can make someone's day, then actually connecting with that person and doing the job, like Keisha said, aside from the pay or the benefits, it could work wonders. And for Kat's story, that was a living example. And so yeah, it was just motivating me to be more kinder when I do my job, and be more kinder to people outside, and smile, just crack a smile and make someone's day, or try to help somebody. So yeah.
Thank you, Venus. Anyone else?
I will try and speak. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. I was really moved by the fact that how easy it gets away from us, one small incident, how that trauma is compounded in the span of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, And we as adults often ask the question of how did this child end up here? Well, we know how. It's the many times that you've walked by a person sitting and slumped in a corner and not asking, are you okay? Or can I help? And we do this every single day. I was particularly moved by, I'm particularly reminded, I like to observe children, like to listen to their conversations at that dreaded adult hour between 2 and 4, where people are afraid of the train. I sort of cherish it because I think of myself as a proud uncle and I listen to the kids and I don't intervene on a verbal level most often, but I will acknowledge to the child by some facial gesture if something is inappropriate. And I liken the trauma or the lack of responsiveness and accountability that we don't take as adults to do that, to engage a child, because for they are nothing but children. That's all they are. So we can't label them bad or unruly, for they know not what they do, but we know what they should and should not do. So I take that seriously. And I'm saddened actually. I mean, so I'm upset with you, Lamaka, that I'm at this meeting, but I'm sad now for the rest of the day. And knowing of how these traumas are so compounded for these little ones, it's my heart is heavy. And I also, the lady who spoke about the smile, I am incredibly silly, but it is extremely impactful. It is something, the simple gesture of a smile, what it does. And I urge everyone on this panel to do that this afternoon, immediately when you walk out of your office, when you walk out of your home. I want you to test it, to just look at someone and hold the gaze for a moment, an appropriate gaze, and then smile and watch what you get back. 9 times out of 10, you get it in return. It's reciprocated because that's a natural human instinct. All right, I've preached enough this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. And I knew some people would be mad because it was a little heavy, but I think it's worth it for us to have this conversation. So don't be mad at me too long. All right, anyone else would like to unmute and share any thoughts, anything that resonated with them from the video, whether it be a personal experience, anything that you might do differently in your work, feel free to share.
I would. Sorry.
Hi.
Hello, my name is Maya Brigman. I'm the coordinator of community outreach at New Directions Substance Use and Outpatient Program. Such a mouthful. I actually so right now I'm in Mark's School for International and Public Affairs for my master's in public affairs. And I just did a paper on re-entry and how incarceration and having an incarcerated loved one affects a community. So this to me connected very well because it's almost the same thing. We don't realize how often the little things make such a big difference. My paper spoke about like how incarceration is like one of I'm sorry, I'm like in my car. Incarceration is one of the biggest problems with like health and how schools are related to incarceration and how much a parent struggles, whether it be a mom or a dad who is left with these children, or how incarceration itself is just horrible on the person who just came out of prison, because it kind of gives them like this weary feeling. Sometimes they feel like when they're welcomed back into the society, they're not as welcomed. Not until July of this year will they be able to use, I think it was like food stamps or something like that. So it's almost the same thing. Listening to this almost made me want to cry, because it was like me, myself, going through having incarcerated loved ones, and just knowing how a cycle can like really affect a household. This was like really touching. I had to pull my car over and really listen. So thank you so much, Ms. Holmes. Really grateful for this.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. I have Karen. Would you like to share?
Lameka, yeah, you always bring it. You always like bring it at the end. But for me, I couldn't help but wonder if the gender were reversed, what might have happened. It was, how because it was a male, he got this really harsh, reaction, whereas she, held the face in the hand and was like, "Don't give up," that kind. So that was what was troubling to me. Like, what does a male have to do to get that same level of treatment?
Great point. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Luz, would you like to share?
Yes, wonderful topic of discussion. Thank you for bringing it up. I think it's really, really important in the world that we're living nowadays. In addition to projecting a smile, even if it's someone who you don't have never come across, just making eye contact. I find that nowadays, especially in the new generation, young people don't look at their eyes. You look at them in the eyes when you're talking to them, and they will just like automatically switch their eyes somewhere else, like the phone. That's like the biggest, like their blanket, like a safety blanket, their cell phone. So they will just like, when you're talking to them, they will just gravitate again to their phone. So I think there's a lot that we need to do to connect as humans. But thank you for bringing it up. Excellent.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. Do we have anyone else that would like to share?
And I just wanted to echo what Louis said, because I'm Generation Z, I'm 22, and the eye contact is very true. Sometimes I even struggle with like going to college, like just keeping eye contact. And I guess because like the phones and the pandemic, we're growing up in a time where it's hard for us to like, you know, connect with people. But I think like, you know, we're open to trying, and things like these and agencies like this really help us. So.
Great, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Annis, would you like to share
Yeah.
or is that an old hand?
No, I'm a new hand. I just wanted to
Yes, go ahead.
touch on something. I know
Yep.
that you're speaking about childhood trauma, but
Yes.
one thing stood out, I think somebody mentioned it, was breaking the cycle. And I believe like, you know, that generation cycle of not being able to speak up when things happen as kids and being an adult, and then the adult goes through stuff. And because it was okay for them not to speak about it, well, first of all, I'm Caribbean, so, you know, we had to be silent, you know, and not be able to speak up. And that, and growing with that fear, some of our parents think it's okay, which is not okay. So it does disturb the household, it disturbs the children, and then this goes on for generations. So I look at it not just as childhood trauma, but about breaking generation cycle. Thanks.
You're welcome. That was a great point. Yeah. So I'll share really quickly, and if there's anyone else that would like to share after, you can feel free. So what resonated for me about the video was definitely the point where the children's belongings were put in the garbage bag. And I've actually seen that at work, and I didn't feel good about it. And it wasn't until hearing it from the video that made me think, can we at least get a laundry bag? Like, I know things need to be transported, and I know that sometimes things happen really quickly when a child is removed from home and different things like that. But I think at least a laundry bag would be more appropriate than a garbage bag. So I'm actually making a mental note to go back and speak to who I need to, you know, at my own agency, just to make sure that we are aware of those things, because it is very important, you know, seeing the things that you value be put in a garbage bag is not good, right? So that was one thing for me. The second was the story of the woman and how not only was she institutionalized again, but it was the same facility. And I thought that that was powerful to see. It's almost like sometimes we really relive the moment. Sometimes we relive it mentally, but we relive it physically. So for him to come at that place where she was and be that voice of reasoning for her, I think it definitely was a turning point, as she said. So there's a lot. I know that we experience a lot in our own personal lives, as well as in the lives of the people that we're working with and trying to help. But I really wanted to just have a conversation for us to be grounded in not taking for granted those moments when we can connect, when we can smile. I'm a hugger. I like giving hugs. So at any chance I can do that for someone, it really can uplift someone's spirits, and you never know how it can make their day very different. So thank you all for engaging with me in this conversation. And if there's anyone else that wanted to share about the video, now's the chance. And we're actually going to be wrapping things up shortly.
Lamika, I want to touch on a point that you brought up, which is, it really resonated with me. As you say, instead of a garbage bag, you know, it can be a laundry bag. Maybe this can be something that we can speak to, you know, like the ACS, you know, like any agency that would be going in to remove a child. Maybe it could be added to their funding where they're taking a duffel bag with them, you know, just in case if the child doesn't have a backpack or a bag, because it gives you a little bit of sense of belonging. Because when you put stuff in a trash bag, you feel like trash, you feel discarded, you know, it has something to do with, you know, with your self-esteem. So if it is that, you know, maybe they can have, you know, just like how they have first aid kits and all these different things, you know, as a package, maybe have some bags as a package as part of it. So when you go, you know, you put the stuff in the bag and the child know that's theirs. Because when they get there, they still have that garbage bag, and you living out of a garbage bag, that's a lot. You feel, you know, it's just like a whole nother level. So I think that's something that we should really try to get implemented.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Keisha.
Good evening, everyone. This is
Hi,
Daphne.
Daphne.
Hi, founder of the Art and Public Speaking program. I really enjoyed the, I think that was a TED Talk. What really resonated with me from the TED Talk is just there is hope, right? There was someone who connected with her, not just did their job, but took the time to connect with her, took the time to comfort her, to give her word of encouragement. And so I think having individuals like her who experienced those traumatic life experience and to come out to speak, it gives us an opportunity to hear stories, right? Because our stories are powerful, and oftentimes as immigrants, we are taught to be silent in our stories. And so I think what I got from there is to be bold, to share and to speak out our stories. Hence why I have a program on public speaking for kids. And that is coming from, you know, a personal experience of mine, having shut down for many years and not sharing my trauma. So one of the reasons why I want children to be able to speak clearly is so that they can share their stories as they are young. Even though they are young, they have powerful words. And also, while you guys were talking about the garbage bag, there are organizations that were created from individuals who've been in the foster system and who have experienced, you know, being transferred from houses to houses with garbage bag, such as I think one called Comfort Cases that was founded where they raise money for duffel bag, for backpack for foster kids. So I'm not sure, maybe that could be something we connect those organizations with ACS so that children in New York, children in Brooklyn are being provided with duffel bag and backpacks and not garbage bag when they are being, you know, transitioned. It's it.
Thank you, Daphne. Taisha, would you like to share?
Yes, just to reiterate what Ms. Anderson put in the chat, and just from experience that I've had as a former CPS, now we do, when removals take place, we do use duffel bags. And in some cases, when the children do not have any clothing to bring, we provide clothing for them to go to the next to the foster home for however long that may take. So it's been instances where we had to provide pack in place for babies who had to go and have left the hospital. I have taken babies from the hospital to a foster home, and we provide pack in place and provide all, if it means Enfamil or Pampers, ACS does provide that going forward, or has been for years now, in terms of providing what children need if they don't have it at the time, at the place where they're being removed, or just taking them from their home to their foster home. They do provide in that area.
Thank you for sharing that, Taisha. I appreciate it. Okay, anyone else? Okay, all righty. So we're going to continue. As I stated, we're actually going to be wrapping things up for this meeting. I just want to pull up my presentation again. Okay, so we're gonna leave some time for program announcements, but East Flatbush Partnership is our handle, and our next meeting is going to be on February 23rd from 3 to 5 virtually on Zoom. And our catchment area is 11203, 11210, 11212, and 11226. For those of you who might have joined a little bit later, we did put in the chat a link so that you can join our newsletter. So Kai, if you can repost that, and we also put in a link so that you can be a presenter for one of our monthly meetings. So please feel free to utilize that. And now it is time for us to share program updates. So if you would like to share what's going on in your program, please feel free to do so.
Hi, everyone. My name is Venus Canterbury. I'm the Broker and Outreach Coordinator for the New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board. We are independent from the NYPD. We investigate, mediate, and prosecute against police misconduct of members of the NYPD. We investigate allegations of excessive force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. And I just want to clarify that we don't work with the NYPD. This is a civilian oversight agency. So it's special in that there are civilians that are investigating these misconduct. The Youth Advisory Council, our applications are open. We have a Youth Advisory Council that is open to ages 10 to 18, and it's for young New Yorkers who are interested in criminal justice and also improving police and community relations. And it's also a great way to engage in a healthy conversation about police accountability. A lot of Black and Brown children experience stop and frisk at young as 8. So I think that, you know, teaching our children about what is expected of them during police encounters is really important. So applications are closing January 31st. A lot of you all work with students. If you can please spread the word and encourage them to apply, that would be great. And also, if there are any collaboration opportunities that any agency would like to do, I'm open, and I'll leave my contact. Have a great day.
Thank you. Who else would like to share?
Me. Hi, everyone. This is Keisha Sydney. Can you guys hear me? Okay, Keisha Sydney here. I'm with I do community outreach for Sesame Flyers, and I just wanted to put it out there. We do have our free after school programs, and you know, those programs, we are in schools, so we do have access to the school buildings, you know, until certain times at night between 9 and 10 o'clock. So we are looking for anyone who has programs. Maybe they have a program, maybe they have activities that's for adults that you need space for, you know, between the hours, you know, starting from 6 to 9 or 6 to 10. If you need a space, if it's a book club, anything like that, maybe you meet monthly, maybe you meet weekly, and you need to have a space to do so. My information is in the chat. You know, you guys can reach out to me, and, you know, and we can talk about that. Just wanted to let you guys know that. And just, you know, our program, we work with kids from 1st grade to 8th grade. Those are the ones that we have, you know, we do have Billisy Beacon, we do have Winthrop Beacon, and we also have a Compass program, which is Clarkson Compass. So my information is in the chat. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Keisha. Tyrone, would you like to share?
Sure. Once again, good day, everyone. I'm here representing Neighborhood Housing Services of Brooklyn. I just want to just notify you of some upcoming events we're having. We are having next week, Thursday, on February the 2nd, we are having a eviction, what to do if you've been served for tenants. It's an eviction webinar, and it's going to start at 6 p.m. February the 2nd, and we're going to have representatives from Brooklyn Legal there, and also a representative from HRA just to discuss what happens if you fall behind in your rent. Also on put up here, also on Wednesday, February 8th, we're going to have a webinar on co-op a condo. All right, what's the difference? What's the similarities? What is the pros and cons of buying a co-op a condo? And once again, that's going to be on February the 8th from 6 p.m. to 7:30, and I will post flyers in the chat. And then lastly, we are on February the 9th, we are having a renter's insurance workshop Wednesday, February the 9th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're not here to sell insurance companies, but we just want to discuss, the importance of renter's insurance, what's covered, different terms used, how premiums are calculated, and so forth. As you probably know, there's been a few fires within the district within probably the last 2 months, of major fires within the district. And I could probably guarantee many of the individuals probably didn't have renters insurance. So, we're going to talk about the importance of renters insurance when it comes to financial safety, when it comes to disasters. So thanks again. My information is in the chat, but I will post these events in the chat as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrone. Who else would like to share program updates?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Ralph Thomason. I work for Documented. We are the only news organization so far in New York covering immigration. And I am Caribbean Communities Correspondent. So I'm inviting you to visit our website and follow us on Twitter. You have my email address. I am Caribbean Communities Correspondent, so I cover the non-Spanish speaking Caribbeans. We have resources for immigrants on our platform. If you know any organization, working with immigrants and that you think that we should have on our resource guide, please shoot me an email. And I'm also looking for organization assisting immigrants from, other Caribbean countries, except Haiti, for example, because for Haiti, there are many organizations in New York assisting Haitians, but it's hard for me to find organization working with people, for example, from Trinidad, from Guyana, from, these other countries. So I'm very interested to report on this, to make stories on this, because it's very hard for these immigrants to navigate the complex bureaucratic system in New York. So if you know any information, you have my email address on the chat. Thank you so much.
I have a question for you. So you're looking for agencies to give you some information, or?
There are two things. We do story, classic reporting about immigration and immigrants. The second thing is we have a resource guide for immigrants in New York. For example, if immigrants need access to shelter, if they need food, if they need any kind of assistance. So we have a resource, and we have the list of organizations they can find in New York. So if you know organizations assisting immigrants and you think that we should insert in that resource guide, please let me know.
What about just general information? Because I work for the New York City Health Department and others may be on here too. And we just provide educational, information. Have you,
yeah,
looked into that? We
I'm
can always give you, and then, it's just general information for people to just have some knowledge about the, the different areas that we all promote.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Take those.
I'm interested. Yes.
Okay, we put some information in the chat so you can
Okay.
take a
Okay.
look
Thank
there.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Someone asked me to report my info. Okay, I've just shared it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Selena, would you like to share?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Lameka, for another great meeting. You and Cindy rock. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Selena LeBron. I am from NYPCC. I'm also a proud member of the East Flatbush City Governance team, and just wanted to share with you all who are interested in receiving the mental health first aid training. NYPCC will be hosting it up until June. Our next one is next month. February, I'll drop the flyer in the chat box in our East New York site, and we hope that you will all come join us. We are serving a light breakfast, but it is a great certification to have. It's a 3-year certification, and if you're interested, please reach out to me. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Vanessa, would you like to share?
Yes, I do. Hi, Lameka, thank you. I'm stumbling. Yeah, my name is Vanessa Burrell. I am from the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Bureau of Early Intervention. I am the physician liaison outreach and training specialist. I just wanted to share that we continue to have our It Takes a Village to Help Children Reach Their Full Potential parent virtual EI presentation. Again, we would like you to share this information with families. We offer this very important presentation to families throughout because it's virtual. Let me tell you a little bit about EI. Now, EI is for children from 0 to 3 who may have any suspected or known developmental delays or disabilities. We have 2 parts to the program. You have early intervention, and that is for the child with a suspected or known developmental delay. And then we have developmental monitoring, and that is for the children who are at risk of a delay. So that child might be growing very typically, but they may be exposed to situations such as biological, medical, or social environmental factors, such as homelessness or parents who've had substance abuse or misuse situations, and also preemie babies or low birth weight babies under 4 pounds. And these children are generally at risk or normally at risk for developmental delays. And also children who have been exposed to high lead levels in the home. And, Charlene talks about all these exposures, but these exposures can in fact create delays and, stall children's milestones at some point. So we really want to make sure that we capture these kids as early as possible. So this is an excellent presentation that families could come in, and even providers, to know about the referral process, the eligibility into the program, what it looks like, where it takes place, what happens. And again, children do not have to be a US citizen to receive services. Parents can opt out at any time. We do not label children. We are highly confidential unless families give us consent. We cannot share information with anyone. So you will know all about this if you register. The program runs almost 2 or 3 days a week on evening times between 6:30 and 7:30, and twice on weekends at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. respectively. And I'm gonna share this flyer, if not on the chats. I'm gonna ask Lameka or Cindy to actually forward it to you all and share it with your families. So that's all for now, and thank you so much for having me here, Lameka and others.
You're welcome. Yosef, would you like to share?
Yes, thank you. And thank
Did
you
I say your
for
name correctly?
Yasef.
Yasef. Okay.
Yes,
Sorry
thank
about
you, Lameka. It's
Mhm.
been a great, this has been a great meeting so far. I just wanted to communicate that I work at a space called CAVI, Kings Against Violence Initiative. We're at Kings County Hospital. We respond to gunshot wounds, stab wounds, and assaults that come into Kings County Hospital. And so our level, we are regularly interacting with folks who have incurred a traumatic injury. And so right now we are actually facilitating in partnership with the Urban Institute, facilitating a few focus groups for people who have been affected by gun violence. It is zip code specific. And so there are a few zip codes, including 11203, 11210, 11212, 11213, 225, 226, 11236. And those are the ones that are eligible to take this to be in part of this focus group. You gotta be 18 years old. We're looking for genuine feedback, and participants are to receive a $60 gift card for attending a group discussion. It is in person. And what I've done is I've included the flyer in the chat. And so if anyone knows anyone who's available or willing to be part of a focus group, we have two different sessions. One is our first one in beginning of February is almost filled, but we are still looking for folks to be a part of the second group. And so I'm sharing the flyer with everyone here, and hopefully you can disseminate it to folks who might be able to attend. So thank you so much for this meeting.
You're welcome. I'm also going to put Cindy's email address in the chat so you can send it to her so she can include it in our newsletter. Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, Anthony, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for another great meeting. I'm honored to be here. I just want to share with you that the Fresh Air Funds application has just opened. It's available online only. I am including in the chat all of my contact information and as well as a flyer. What I have two asks of you. First and foremost, to spread and share the flyer in your community. Our program is free and it's available to any child that lives and goes to school in New York City that meet our income guideline. We're specifically focusing and targeting Brooklyn as one of our important featured boroughs this summer. So I'd like you all to help me by representing. I can also be reached and I can send you, if your organization doesn't have the capacity to print flyers, I will print them and ship them to you. Again, let's together make a lot of New York City children happy this summer by providing a free, safe, and fun summer experience with the Fresh Air Fund camps. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Is there anyone else that would like to share program updates?
Lameka, I would just like to share about the education forum that takes place monthly every third Thursday in the month. Is 2 sessions, 11 to 12 in the morning and then 6 to 7 in the evening. So if you know any parents who have any questions about the DOE or the Department of Education and have any concerns for their children, this is a great educational session to have them join. A new flyer should be coming out soon. When that happens, I will share it with Lameka, and I know she will share it with you all. Thank you.
You're welcome, Taisha. Is there anyone else that would like to share?
Hi, this is Charlene Gordon from the New York City Department of Health. Happy New Year to all again. So the one I wanted to share is like tomorrow, I did put my contact and all our information in the chat. Tomorrow we have a fire safety tip webinar, which is scheduled for 11 a.m. So it's free and you can join. You just have to register and the information about joining will provide to you. And then next week, Tuesday, we're going to have a webinar, but it's in Spanish. So all your Spanish speakers, and it's called Learn How to Recognize Scam and medicine safety tips, which we are partnering with the Poison Center, and Luce is on, and Luce will be conducting that session. So join us, and that's going to be at 1 to 2 p.m. next Tuesday. And it's also free, and join us. Thank you.
Charlene, is that medical scams? Could you elaborate? What kind of scams?
No, it says how to recognize scams, like, different scams of emails that you receive
Oh,
from
just general. Okay,
individual,
not
just
health
in
related.
general, about scams. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyone else want to share a program update?
Morris Norman from Family Health Center. I like to say, Lamecca, this was a good training.
Thank you, Lawrence.
I love hearing all of the programs that's and everybody doing a lot of wonderful work all across the board. I'm gonna send I sent you the flyers for the events earlier, I think I sent you the flyers, or I sent Cindy the flyers. Hopefully she'll send it out to everybody. Anybody want to participate, they can participate. We have a women's event on March 24th. We have a women's event over at the clinic on March 24th. So anybody can participate inside that. Also, I just got contact with the a women's shelter that's on 8th Avenue. And they allow me in to do women's health and all types of stuff. So we got well-being, women's health, sexual health, Narcan, and mental health. We're looking also for things that have to deal with housing too. So before I contact Raleigh, I want to see if anybody want to talk about some housing issues from this group. And all they got to do is just send an information to Lamecca or email me, and I'll be able to get them into the shelter to talk with the ladies. And that's it.
Thank you, Lawrence. If you are in need of any feminine hygiene products for the women at the shelter, let me know. There's a great organization called For Women.
I do. I
okay.
need the women's hygiene.
Okay,
I'll
so
talk to you tomorrow about it.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Lamecca,
All
what's
right.
the name of the organization for women?
Yes, I'm going to put in the chat. It's For Women by Women, period. They actually came to our event this past Saturday at PS 268 and provided the feminine hygiene products. So I'll put that in the chat for you all.
Yes, I need that. Do they come in and also do workshop on feminine hygiene?
I don't know if they
hygiene
do
in general?
workshops, but I will connect you with the co-founder and you guys can chat about that, okay?
Yeah, because they asking for the hygiene because of issues and stuff like that. So they want to have something on hygiene for both men and for women. And I think one program wants something for youth for hygiene stuff.
Okay. All righty. Any other program updates? I see Corrine, you've unmuted. Would you like to share, Corrine? Okay, maybe not. All right, if there are no more program updates, I think we are done for today. Anyone else want to share before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that I am also a part of the Brooklyn Borough-based council meeting. I'm one of the co-chairs. I would love for you all to join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. I put the link in the chat box. Hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Lawrence, would you please check the chat? I sent you a direct message. I'm Anthony Parker.
Lamecca, really quick. I know I've already put down on the chat our information about webinars and so on, and Charlene spoke about it, so I don't want to sound repetitive. Just want to remind all the community partners, our 1-800 number, you see it in the back, 1-800-222-1222. Save it in your cell phone. You never know when can a poisoning occur. And even if you just have questions about medicine, plants, anything, give us a call, okay? It's better to be safe than sorry. Save that number. Let's set some examples. by saving the number in the cell phone. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
And-
Luz.